Hot take.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to a Hot Take Coalition of the Sane, hashtag COTS. We're going to talk to Dr. Stephen Hassan, cult expert. We're going to talk about how we can drag our family members back into the Coalition of the Sane and how we engage them to get them out of cult-like behavior. So stay tuned, buckle up, and let's get to work. Hey, Dr. Hassan, you were talking about the ability to talk to family members about, or I don't know what words you like to use. I know deprogramming. I don't know if that's the correct word, but actually bringing them to the light. What are some tips that you have on approaching family members if they believe some things that are sort of outrageous?
Sure. So I actually wrote a whole book on the subject. It's called Freedom of Mind. I'll just start by saying what not to do is to attack the leader, the doctrine, or the policy head on. A lot of people have just fatigued and cut off contact with their family members and friends who've been radicalized. And so I recommend people reach out and say, I miss you. How are you? And if the person says, I'm angry at you because you cut me off, you apologize and say, can we have a redo? I want you in my life. I value you. I respect you. And I apologize if I said anything in a way that was hurtful to you. They typically say things that are hurtful to you, which is why that whole dynamic happened. But you want to start over again. Then you want to have respect, a respectful interaction where you're curious to understand how they believe what they believe. And so I ask people to go back in time. What was your first memory of Donald Trump? When I ask that question, many times people say, I saw him on The Apprentice, or I remember him in the tabloids having sex outside his marriage, or whatever. So I want to bring them back to their identity prior to being in the group. And I want them to slow walk through how they started to change their opinion. Maybe they were just a strong Republican and their congressional figure was a big Trump supporter. I don't know what their story is. Some people talk about watching a documentary or being on YouTube or being approached by the Trump campaign. And for the first time, people were paying attention to them and listening to them. So I want them to understand there was a process in getting in. But the critical thing is asking questions and making these parallels to other groups and asking them if they would consider talking to a former true believer in MAGA and Trump. For example, there's Rich Logis, Pam Hemphill, Leb Parnas, there's a number, and Michael Cohen. We could go through a list of people, Joe Walsh, that were believers. Just ask them to consider other points of view. And lastly, if they say, do the research, and they give you 50 links to conspiracies, you say, pick one that's really important to you and let's watch it together. We'll hit the pause button because I really want to go through it with you. And just that process where someone is paying attention with the person, it looks different to them because they were typically on automatic pilot. But after you listen to that, you make a deal so that you ask them to watch something that, a documentary, for example, and do the same thing with you and go back and forth to pursue what's true. And the critical thing that I say is convince me. If you want me to believe in Hubbard, convince me. You want me to believe in Donald Trump, convince me. Help me understand your point of view. And it works because in the end, people will get themselves out if they understand that there's a future and they're not going to be yelled at and told they're stupid for having believed in the first place. That happened to me when I left the Moonies. It was very hurtful. But I say to everybody, listen, you got involved because you were lied to, you were incrementally indoctrinated. If you knew then what you know now, you would never have gotten in. And life is not perfect, and we just learn from our experiences and get stronger from them.
What you're saying is so valuable because if 20% of the people, or even 10% of the people we talk to they start to question why they believe what they believe, that's a lifesaver for the United States of America. So, wow, that's a
I
fantastic,
think we can
fantastic
do
way of
more
looking
than
at things.
that if we organize and actually do trainings on how to talk to people who are indoctrinated. And there are a lot of people leaving these NAR cults too. And so getting
Do
people out
apostolic
of the
reformation.
cults.
Absolutely.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Because Christian nationalism is on the rise, and your ability to cut through, the crap based on a specific methodology that you just outlined could be a way for us to actually deprogram and bring people back over into the coalition of the same.